Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another Secure Your Energy Live. I want to say first and foremost, I don't own the rights to this music. This is Lizzo. She'll be playing in the background through my commentary because you know I always got to have something like to liven it up. Alright, y'all. So I'm here on a Wednesday. I'm on time this time. No delay. Tonight we're going to continue on with our conversation. What we always talk about, the economy, what's going on, getting a grip on what the hell's going on around us, as well as learning new terminology in regards to finance, banking, legal terminology, because at the end of the day, all of this is punctuating together. So we're trying to make these type of conversations, these words, these type of discussions, just normal, everyday household conversations. You want to go up to your cousin or your wife, like, you heard what was going on with the stock market? You see that company was doing this, that, and the third, and this is their ethics. This is what they believe in. This is what they support. This is what this channel is about. Enhancing your creative and your critical thinking so you can start looking at what's going on in society just a little different. You know, we don't have to, you know, just do what everybody do what the Joneses do. We can do what we want to do, just individually. So by us going over these things and, you know, just being open-minded to different commentary, different information from different walks of the earth, it makes us actually kind of like, you know, look at the whole system 365 degrees. So tonight we're going to be going a little bit more into what's going on with Zimbabwe. You know, as we talked about their currency basically going in the dumps, and you know, we want to understand what happened with other places and other entities, so we'll be able to probably perceive what may happen around us that will directly involve us as people who are involved in the economy as buyers, sellers, and much more. So we're going to talk about Zimbabwe. We can give you a little bit more about the market is rigged, the stock market, some of the regulations that was supposed to be start to set into effect to stop these high frequency trading purchases of like competitors purchasing their actual formulas, and you know, we went over that last week. And we're going to go into yields curves that relates to actual bonds, and it relates to the interest rate that me and you get every day, the 25% on the credit card. That y'all don't think 25% is high? Also, if you're paying attention to the economy and if you're in the housing market, you are aware that the interest rate is at its lowest right now. So it is a good time to get in the market to buy homes if you are in that market and you're interested. Also, tomorrow we'll be presenting this right here, Primetime Buyback. Primetime Buyback program is a program, sister program. Oops, that wasn't supposed to play yet. It's a sister program presented to you by SecureYourEnergy, Miss Lashley. So here I have a module set up where I teach about how to obtain tax liens and deeds. So it's basically the foundational information. Once you go through this, you'll have all the keys to get started. But we're not going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about Secure Your Energy. I'll share this video with you later on. Tax liens. Maybe share it with you tomorrow. So all of you that's interested, tomorrow will be Primetime Buyback, the Home Buyers TLC and Deed introduction. Okay? So with that go say, let's get this party started. You know, I don't like to delay too much. Let's get this information out. Let's see what everybody else got to say. Alright, I'm not going to act up. I'm going to behave. Y'all. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for being with me tonight. Alright, first video we're going to watch tonight is Zimbabwe on the brink of economic collapse. As you know, this has been going on, but I want you to see where they're at right now and also what the experts have to say.
They come out after dark when the municipal police have gone home and claim a spot on the pavement. Because it's the only way to make a living in Zimbabwe.
We're struggling. See, we're selling things in the streets. We need jobs, but we don't have jobs.
Faced with an unemployment rate of 90%, this country has become a nation of street vendors, with vegetables from the garden and the sugar and the coffee smuggled in from abroad.
Things are going worse and prices are changing daily. On daily basis, prices are changing.
Food in the supermarkets and in the shops is just too expensive, and in many cases people can't get what they need. So business in this country has moved to the streets. And you know, you're looking at the business of survival here. As the public desert the real economy, this man's trying to prevent its imminent collapse. Emerson Mnangagwa inherited rampant inflation, food shortages and crippling government debt after deposing autocrat Robert Mugabe last year. And he's asked Mthuli Ncube, a former lecturer at the London School of Economics, to sort it.
One needs a package to be put together, build confidence, external confidence, in terms of arrears clearance. I want to appoint an International Economic Advisory Board of eminent persons who can help us.
The minister needs help, but he won't get it here. Zimbabwe's farmers used to drive the economy, generating wealth and mass employment. But the land is less productive than it was. Kennedy Banda was given a share in this property after it was seized from white farmers in 2000. How many hectares of wheat have you got planted?
Right, this is about 32 hectares.
But he says he couldn't farm it on his own. The government provides him with seeds, fertilizer and tools through a special program.
Everywhere you go, government should subsidize agriculture. Because there's no way with our prices of fertilizers and to break even, it will be very, very difficult.
The problem is, Zimbabwe can't afford to support 600,000 smallholders. The fact is, the government is basically broke. It doesn't have any money.
They have got to support agriculture. Government has got to support agriculture.
There's no choice.
There's no choice, as I see it.
Rob and Darren Smart ran a profitable farm for decades. And their employees were overjoyed when the pair came to take the property back. 6 months earlier, they'd been thrown off it by a member of the ruling party. It was a difficult time for everyone, but the Smarts think they're safe under the new regime. Do you trust Mnangagwa?
As much as you can trust any of them, I think. All these little sort of things add up to a hell of a lot better than Mugabe's day. So, yeah, we're on a better footing now than we were, say, 12 months ago.
Under Mugabe, 4,000 white farmers were forcibly removed, but President Mnangagwa is offering them 99-year leases as an inducement to return. The atmosphere's changed, say the Smarts.
The other day we were invited by the army, come and enjoy a fun shoot with us, all the local farmers. Hell, in Mugabe's day, if we'd touched an AK, we'd say we're staging a coup. So they gave us AKs, there's some ammo, get on with it, boys. This sort of thing. There's not this stigma that the whites are going to take over this country if they're given something.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it right there. Y'all saw me making some faces. I'm not even going to put my commentary into, what's going on in Zimbabwe. It's a little bit heart-wrenching to see what's going on, but it was more so about the money issues and what the hyperinflation leads to, and what it leads to. One of the main things that people don't think about is agriculture issues and farming issues, and what that goes to say, that leads to famine and leads to other things. So that's just one of the things I just wanted to highlight. But Jesus, I'm not even gonna talk about that. That man he seemed like he getting money out there. That's all I'm gonna say. He seemed like he's doing well. Okay, and everybody else needs subsidized. I'm just saying. Okay, so let's talk about Zimbabwe a little bit deeper. Let's figure out a little bit more about the economic crisis, a little breakdown of it. I know we talked about it last week, you know, when it came to the money issues and how to look at it. But let's just go a little bit deeper, because you can find some relations to, you know, what's going on around us.
Over to Zimbabwe now, where the economy is in rapid decline, with inflation now sitting at around 500%. This has forced people to flock to South Africa for basic services and food. This as shelves remain empty and prices surge. Speaking to my colleague Shahan Ramkasoon, ENCA's Rofio Matzena breaks down the current situation for us.
There are those 18-hour power cuts that we are seeing, shortage of goods. Manufacturers, producers are not able to produce any goods or services within the country. So what you'll find is that a lot of Zimbabweans are flocking into South Africa for basic goods and services. And another main reason, apart from the lack of availability, is this 400% increase, Shahan, in the cost of basic services. Of course, that's made worse by those ever high inflation numbers. 558%, that being suspended for the next 6 months so that the new currency can kind of contribute to new inflation data that we'll be seeing in 2020. So pay rises we have seen for about 130,000 government workers has increased by about 10%, and that's to encourage some spending within the economy, for there to be some money flowing in and out of the Zimbabwean economy. But what's interesting about this particular situation is that what's happened is that a quarter of the population in Zimbabwe has left the country, and according to many analysts, apart from them being in South Africa and other parts of the world, it is going to be getting worse. Let's take a look at here at some of the other reasons that are contributing to the Zimbabwean economic so that the other economic crisis they're affecting. So the GDP is expected to decrease or shrink even further this year, the most since 2008. So that's what the remaining Zimbabwean citizens are going to be looking at when it comes to the GDP growth. So there will be no GDP growth this year, according to many analysts, and that is going to continue to contribute to the dire situation in Zimbabwe. Let's have a look at some of the ways in which government has tried to intervene. So we saw that there was a $27 billion of investments that was announced by President Mnangagwa after he went on an investment roadshow. Some of this money has yet to be seen in terms of contributions to key sectors within the Zimbabwean economy. And many people have said this is eerily similar to what we saw during the Mugabe years, where billions and billions were promised in terms of projects that would boost the economy. And this, to this day, is yet to be seen. There was also the reintroduction of the Zim dollar, which I must say, we'll talk about this a little later, has not been great for South African companies operating within the Zim market, attracting investment, a prudent fiscal policy that they've tried to put into place, which are yet to see the benefits of. And this was very interesting. Earlier this year, there were talks that South Africa may give a $1.2 billion loan to Zimbabwe. Of course, there were lots of fears around this. The SARB really not keen on this, not only because South Africa's financial or fiscal stability is in question at the moment, but also that Zimbabwe is a credit risk. So that was the issue there. And now we look at how it relates to South Africa directly. There are a number of companies operating in the Zimbabwean market. South African Airways, for example, has around $1 billion stuck in the Zimbabwean economy, money that they're unable to repatriate because of the lack of financing in Zimbabwe. And companies like Nedbank and Tongaat, this is just to name a few. There's Standard Bank, many other companies that are not only are unable to further invest into the Zimbabwean economy, but they can't get money out. So shareholders saying you can't put money into an economy where we don't know where that cash is going. And also we're not getting our dividends. Some companies not paying our dividends for the past 2 to 3 years just because of what's happening in Zimbabwe. But of course, there's always a little bit of a silver lining. Retail businesses in South Africa, like your mass mart chains, are benefiting quite nicely from that influx of Zimbabwean nationals that are coming through to buy bulk basic goods.
Okay, all right. So I got some good stuff. I got a lot to say. I like that. Hold on, it was one more thing. I wanted to take notes of. Hold on, before we do anything, because I don't want this to play on me. All right, so now just a little basic review, and I really want y'all to go back and look at this video. This video is located on, let's see where it's located at, ENCA, okay? So this is an African news network, okay? And this is August 6, 2019. And this said a lot to me. If you paid attention to the breakdown, she gave a great breakdown. And from the beginning, it's 90. They had a 90% unemployment rate, okay? And that is, it's just not amazing. When I say amazing, that's just wow. Inflation is at 500%. Basic services inflation is at 400%. Do y'all hear what these people are saying? Imagine every day the price is changing in America because basically the money's not secure. Let's break this down. Because when I finish what I'm saying, you're going to understand. Oh, man. So you know it's already messing with their agriculture. So they're on a power shortage. Where they conserve, so they only have use to their power 18 hours of the day. The power is off. So I understand that because my grandmother lived in Haiti. So what that goes to say, they've been on that for a lot of years, and she has a generator and other things to compensate. So these are the things that these people have to think about when they're in situations like that. Also, she mentioned something about a new currency being embarked on in 2020. And it was funny because I was at work the other day and I happened to talk to someone and they mentioned, I was talking about how it's supposed to be possibly a recession, based on research and things that, we're actually literally, I'm showing you every week, is unfolding right before your eyes. She's like, yeah, it's basically, it's going to be a currency reset. So they're going to just start a new currency. Like it's nothing. Like, we're so, not her, but we're so programmed into the the basics of what they have set up to make happen that, oh yeah, like it's inevitable, the currency change is going to be digital. So I'm like, oh, okay. So we get digital, and then we're going to continue to have them adjust the books and just change the numbers as we talk about every week, which is called quantitative easing. Okay, so it makes it even more easier to just create money when it's on a computer. Just really putting that perspective out there. So if it is, this recession type of situation, what's going to happen, don't know everybody who's going to be affected, but it's going to be people affected. You really got to be ready. It's going to be affected. You have to be aware of these things. All right, so another thing I want to highlight, because of the prices and things that's going on there, these individuals are migrating out of Zimbabwe to South Africa, they said. And that's to basically highlight migration, some of the causes of migration. Why people migrate from their area. It's famine. And in this case, this is a controlled situation. It ain't famine is not God sent. It's actually human beings that's creating these type of economical issues or perspective of the issue, because you already know that money most likely in all of these countries, because United States made them off the gold dollar. There's nothing backing it. So all of this stress and heartache, I'm sorry to say, if you look at it in the mundane, it's based on a perspective or an imagery that money means everything. And the game keeps playing until it's about to explode. And what's going on in Zimbabwe, you see, is about to explode. So next week, one of the topics we're gonna move on to is the GDP. We're gonna start talking about the GDP and other terms later on. I'm gonna tell you the other terms that we're gonna highlight so you could be ready. Get ready, because you need to know this. You need to know this. We need to know this. Your kids need to know this. All right. So. Okay, another thing that she highlighted was that it's a $27 billion investment plan, and they went on a campaign. They went on a campaign to campaign for money. That's what they did. This is what countries do. They go out and they campaign for money, and they, give them bonds And those bonds is the security. The security is the fact that the country can pay them back with interest. Okay, so what she was saying is that people is not buying. Never. They over Zimbabwe bonds. They can't invest, and that's the issue with actually South Africa investing in Zimbabwe, as they mentioned. South Africa wants to invest, but the issue is it is a big credit risk. And as we talked about, United States is becoming a big credit risk. And that's the reality, because as we talked about in the last few weeks, we talked about the bond market in the United States and how investors are dumping them. All right, so you can review the last few weeks. I'll show you where to go look at it. Join the SecureYourEnergy group. All of them things are there. They are there. We went through them. These videos are up to date. I show you the dates, and if they're not, they're more informational videos. Everything we do here is to learn. So I try to make it as factual as possible and diverse. So we talked about that. Okay, they dumping the bonds. So I'm sorry I'm making this association to Zimbabwe and United States. That may not like, people don't like that, but reality is reality. Okay. So the last thing I want to highlight before we move on, because I know I've been talking for a little while, is they said that the nationalists is actually causing a stimulation to the economy. These nationalists I'm just making the assumption they may be sovereign, in working in their own capacity. And what that goes to say, they're doing business and they're causing the stimulation to their economy, to the little guy. That's what she stated. So hint. Business is everything, and sometimes big business is not always good because they get political. And then it goes into political, and then it goes into control. We ain't going to talk about that. Alright, so hope that was a good breakdown. I want y'all to look at that video. Now, let's move on to trades. I know I wanted to talk about the trades and a little bit the rig market. We went into it. The documentary, I still didn't put it up, guys, but I'm going to put it up because I have it. I'm going to put a documentary up tonight. So I'm going to put documentary up tonight. Okay? With the gentleman that made the high frequency trading, how I say, formula, and I want to call it a module, because that's just like, whatever. Another word, like a module put together for customers to buy so they can trade. And he was just noticing that his trades wasn't happening in a timely manner, and people kept actually getting ahead of him, and he couldn't understand. And it was because they were selling to his competitors. They were selling his stuff. Okay, so know that. All right. So the next video we're gonna watch is the rig stock market. Let's get this video started.
Rigging the market against average investors. Since then, the Dow moved at least 1,800 points higher. There have been a handful of prosecutions, but still no widespread reform. His book is out this morning in paperback. Michael Lewis is here. Yes. He accused high-frequency stock traders of rigging the market against average investors. Since then, the Dow moved at least 1,800 points higher. There have been a handful of prosecutions, but still no widespread reform. His book is out this morning in paperback. It is called Flash Boys, A Wall Street Revolt. Michael joins us now in Studio 57. Welcome.
Thank you.
So what's happened since the book came out? Because there were some people on Wall Street who said, oh, no, this is not fixed. Where is the controversy today?
What else are they going to say?
Right. I understand that, but there was, people who said, no, Michael's got it wrong.
Yes. And everybody who said that actually had a stake in the existing system. So it's messy. It's messy because there are kind of two paths to fixing the system. And one is regulators come in and fix it, but regulators help create the system. And then I think that there've been some lawsuits filed. People have been fined for manipulating the markets, and it's been noisy. There's been noise out of the SEC, noise out of FINRA, noise out of the various, out of the Attorney General. but it hasn't been real structural change. The bad incentives that are the heart of the problem, which in fact are the heart of the financial crisis, like poorly incentivized financial intermediaries are still there. However, there's this other way that the thing gets fixed, and it gets fixed through the market. And the characters of the book, the people who created this fair exchange, IEX, their business is growing very, very fast. They're going to become a public exchange in the fall. They've raised a whole bunch of money. Investors are behind them. I think that's the sort of the hopeful path, is the market fixing the problem.
You know, back in the day of the Oprah show, she used to always say to her team, "What is your intention here for this show?" And I love in your forward, I'm going somewhere with this, in your afterward, you said, I did not intend to see just how angry I could make the richest people on Wall Street. So what was your intention of Flash Boys?
Look, if I had just been told that the stock market's got this rigging in it, and like ordinary investors are disadvantaged in relation to these high-frequency traders, I wouldn't have been that interested in the story. What interested me was that some people inside the market had figured out what was going on and set about it instead of trying to make money from it, trying to fix the problem, possibly expense to themselves and certainly at expense to Wall Street. And so I thought these characters in the story, sort of their journey, was what was really interesting, not the nefarious deeds of Wall Street people, because my God, we've heard enough about that.
Well, I think, you know, what many people certainly believe is that there are two sets of rules. There are rules for rich people, and then there are rules for other people. And your book details this high-frequency trading where people have an unfair advantage. Has anything changed? Has the government at all stepped in to change that high-frequency trading?
So as I say, it's messy. The SEC is making lots of noise. The former head of trading and markets, the SEC, just came out and said, the stock market's a Death Star.
I know, I keep hearing the noise, and I keep hearing that there's charges coming.
So where does it lead to? It's hard to know what it leads to. It's hard to know whether there are rules they can create that can't be gamed. Especially given the existing political system and the kind of poisonous relationship between the regulators and the political system.
I know. I mean, and here's the front page of USA Today. Wall Street gears up for spring breakout. Market's going up and up.
And that's the other thing. So just as the Federal Reserve did a very good job of numbing the pain from the financial crisis and thus numbing the anger that might have led to real reform, a stock market that's going up is a very hard stock market to do much with, right?
Let's talk about you. They're making your books into movies.
It's funny this is happening because it was never the intention. I mean, I think if you look at the books, I mean, The Blind Side has a kind of a movie component to it. But Moneyball, I thought they were insane.
You compare Moneyball to Flash Boys.
The response, the situation's very similar. Someone inside the industry saying, the way the industry is being run is insane, and then a firestorm happening after the book comes out. Actually, very similar, the response. The response of journalists, that both books have had books written against them. They aren't obvious movie material. I mean, this is a really complicated subject.
But Brad Pitt's back playing in The Big Short.
Yes.
He was in the Money Game. Moneyball. And then the Flash Boys is going to be made into a movie with Aaron Sorkin?
Well, The Big Short started filming today in New Orleans, so that actually is happening.
Right.
It's still they start
Quite an
filming.
all-star cast, by the way.
It's an incredible cast. Christian Bale and Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell, and I think Beyonce.
But now, don't you get a kick, though, Michael, that there are going to be movies? You said you never started out thinking that, but now isn't it kind of cool to know that what you write is now going to be on the big screen?
It's great.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great. And I've been very lucky in that they haven't screwed it up. I mean, the movies have been fabulous. So Aaron Sorkin is writing the script of Flash Boys. What happens to it, I don't know.
So you're a best-selling author.
Yeah.
Many books. Your books are made into movies, successful movies. What does Michael do with his money?
I think you've asked me this before.
I have,
and
on another show.
The answer is so uninteresting. The answer is just really uninteresting.
Oh, just tell us
I do
anyway.
so little with it. I sit on it and count it every
No,
day.
you don't.
So here's what I do.
Well, you buy lots of
I
towels?
don't trade a lot in the stock market.
You don't put it with an index fund, something like that?
I do. I have money. I have two kinds of index funds. I have Vanguard index funds, which are like a lot of people. But I also give some of my money to Warren Buffett.
Right.
I mean, I put it in Berkshire Hathaway, which is a kind of fund.
Exactly.
Because I figure that whatever happens, he can figure it out. But other than that, I'm not a stock picker.
And are you buying up half of Oakland?
All right, y'all. We're going to stop. We ain't got to listen where he invests all his money at. But There's just a few things I want to highlight with what he was talking about, Mr. Michael Lewis. So, as you see, he's a very credible person. Like, literally, they're making movies that y'all watching and not even understanding that they're connected to real life things that's going on. So, look at Moneyball and Flash Boys. I don't know if they out. When they come out, y'all like to watch movies, watch them. I really don't have time for it. That's why y'all see me here giving y'all all this information, because this is what I do. But if y'all do that, watch that movie, check it out, and make you understand a stock market just a little bit and how they was cheating. Okay, just a little bit. Not to say everything in there is factual, but reading is good. Go get the book, read the book, or check this guy out. But what Michael Lewis said was that stood out to me was after the lawsuits and the fines, that the stock market actually started creeping up. So he putting some of these predators and these demons in jail, fining them. So that is a good thing. And those lawsuits and those fines are not only created by, government entities, but the lawsuit has to be connected to the people who invest and use these formulas as well. So us as individuals have to be aware where we stand as individuals and what we can do to start to push back on the corruption, because that's corruption. That's messed up. And I don't do stock market, but I just wanted to show y'all, because people be just doing stuff. Don't just do stuff. Stock market ain't for me, but this is stuff that I have come across and researched, and I wanted to share with y'all. So, like they said, it's two sets of rules, and y'all know it's two sets of rules. It's the rules for the rich and the rules for the poor. Things that they get away with that we can't get away with, and that's what needs to be changed. Those things right there is the things that we need to address, and it don't have to be done by us marching and going outside. I respect that. I think definitely in my other lifetime I was a marcher, because I be feeling like I want to, but I be having other ways to approach it. So we definitely could approach it by pulling back from these corporations that invest into the fuckery, excuse my language, the fuckery, those type of people, those entities, and we do some research in who we put our money into. We have the power. I'm just trying to let you know. Once they know we pull back, they're going to start fixing some things, because these companies are the ones that actually invest into, that's not called investing, it's called lobbying. Lobbying is called investing or buying the corporate entities and our senators and our politicians. Y'all know what's going on. Come on. So let's make the connection. Hello? This is Secure Your Energy. Alright, so he says that it's still no new regulations for high frequency trading. So the things that's going on right now, this changes that you're seeing is basically going on because of the people. The things that's going on right now is basically because there are people that's creating other modules that are, or I keep calling modules, other high frequency trading formulas, as well as marketing tools or tools to utilize the stock market more honestly. They are being honorable, so that's actually fixing the problem as well. Okay, so they move the bad guys out and the good guys are coming in. So 2 movies, if y'all like watching movies, it's Moneyball and Flash Boys. Okay, alright, so we about to move on to the next video, and we're going to talk about the relationship. Okay, so this gonna get a little corny, but I'm gonna need y'all to sit, take your time, pay attention. Okay, pay attention. Alright, so this is the relationship between bond prices and interest rate. So as we talked about, that these governments and also companies, because once you open a business, you're going to understand that you sell bonds and make some money. You're like, yo, I could get, like, you use them as investments into your company, and then you promise them some money, you get them the money back. That's how these countries move. Okay, so how do bond rates actually connect to the interest rate? So when my rates that I have directly will affect what my price for my product for my customers. So, because we are the consumers of the United States, we are like the customers. So, it directly affects us because we get hit with the interest rate. Alright, so you make the connection? Alright, here we go. So, let's watch this video. Khan Academy, I love it. Y'all haven't watched me play Khan Academy in a while. We're going to watch it today. Let's get through it.
Why bond prices move in the opposite direction as interest rates. So bond prices versus interest rates. So to start off, I'll just start with a fairly simple bond, one that does pay a coupon. And we'll just talk a little bit about what you'd be willing to pay for that bond if interest rates moved up or down. So let's start with a bond from some company. So let me just write this down. This could be company A. It doesn't just have to be from a company. It could be from a municipality, or it could be from the U.S. government. And let's say it's a bond for $1,000. Let's say it has a 2-year maturity. 2-year maturity. And let's say that it has a 10% coupon. 10% coupon paid semi-annually. So this is semi-annual payments. So if we just draw the diagram for this, obviously I ran out of space on the actual bond certificate, but let's draw a diagram of the payments for this bond. So this is today. Let me do it in a different color. That's today. Let me draw a little timeline right here. This is 2 years in the future when the bond matures, so that is 24 months in the future. Halfway is 12 months. Then this is 18 months. And this right here is 6 months. And we went over a little bit of this in the introduction to bond video, but it's a 10% coupon paid semi-annually. So it'll pay us 10% of the par value per year, but it's going to break it up into 2 6-month payments. So 10% of 1,000 is $100. So they're going to give us $50 every 6 months.
All right, I'm just going to stop right there. What he applied is the compound interest, okay? Compound interest versus simple interest. So you need to know the concept of that so you can understand how he broke down how much you're going to get in 6 months. Okay? Just want to throw that in there. And I know we went over that. We went over that, y'all. Compound interest versus simple interest when we talked about mortgage loan rates and how much you're going to be paying for the rest of your life. That's what we were talking about. Okay.
They're going to give us half of our 10% coupon every 6 months. So we're going to get $50 here, $50 here. These are going to be our coupon payments. $50 there. And then finally, at 2 years, we'll get $50. And we'll also get the par value of our bond. And we'll also get $1,000. So we'll get $1,000 plus $50, 24 months from today. Now, the day that this, let's say this is today that we're talking about, the bond is issued, and you look at that, you say, you know what, for a company like Company A, for this risk profile, given where interest rates are right now, I think a 10% coupon is just about perfect. So 10% coupon is just about perfect. So you say, you know what, I think I will pay $1,000 for it. So the price of the bond, the price of that bond, right when it gets issued, or on day 0, if you will, you'd be willing to pay $1,000 for it. Because you say, look, you know, I'm getting roughly 10% a year, and then I get my money back. 10% is a good interest rate for that level of risk. Now, let's say that the moment after you buy that bond, just to make things a little bit, obviously interest rates don't move this quickly, but let's say the moment after you buy that bond, or maybe to be a little bit more realistic, let's say the very next day, interest rates go up. If interest rates go up, let me do this in a new color. So let's say that interest rates go up. And let's say they go up in such a way that now that they've moved up for this type of a company, for this type of risk, you could go out in the market and get 15% coupon. So let's say for this type of risk, you would now expect a 15% interest rate. Obviously, for something less risky, you would expect less interest in that. But for a company just like Company A, you would now expect a 15% interest rate. So interest rates have gone up. Now, let's say you need cash and you come to me and you say, hey, Sal, are you willing to buy this certificate off of me? I need some cash. I need some liquidity. I can't wait for the 2 years for me to get my money back. How much are you willing?
Okay, so I hope y'all are making the connection to the things that we'll be talking about. I'm going to let him get in. But as he said, now they want to liquidate. Like, hey, I need some money right now. Or, hey, your market looking kind of shady. I maybe want to sell this to somebody else. Or I may, want to just cash out. Okay, so just pay attention to that.
To pay for this bond. Well, I'll say, you know what? I'm going to pay you less than $1,000 because this bond is only giving me 10%. I'm expecting 15%. So I want to pay something less than $1,000 that after I do all of the fancy math in my spreadsheet, it'll come out to be 15%. So I'm going to pay, so the price, so in this situation, the price will go down. And I'll actually do the math with a simpler bond than one that pays coupons right after this. But I just want to give you the intuitive sense. If interest rates go up, someone willing to buy that bond, they'll say, gee, this only gives a 10% coupon. That's not the 15% coupon I can get on the open market. I'm going to pay less than $1,000 for this bond. So the price will go down. Or you could essentially say that the bond would be trading at a discount to par. Bond would trade at a discount to par. Now, let's say the opposite happens. Let's say that interest rates go down. Let's say that we're in a situation where interest rates go down. So now for this type of risk, like company A, people expect 5%. People expect 5% rate. So how much could you sell this bond for? Well, if you weren't there and if I had to just go to companies issuing their bonds, I would have to pay $1,000 or roughly $1,000 for a bond that only gives me a 5% coupon, roughly, give or take. I'm not being precise with the math. I really just want to give you the gist of it. So I would pay $1,000 for something giving a 5% coupon now. This thing is giving me a 10% coupon, so it's clearly better. So now the price would go up. So now I would pay more than par. Or you would say that this bond is trading at a premium to par. Premium to par. So at least in the gut sense, when interest rates went up, people expect more from the bond. This bond isn't giving more, so the price will go down. Likewise, if interest rates go down, this bond is giving more than what people's expectations are, so people are willing to pay more for that bond. Now let's actually do it with let's actually do the...
All right, so I just want to pause it and I want to make this, just review it. So as he said, when interest rates go up, the prices will go down if the person is going to buy it. So let's say, like as he mentioned, if you're going to get this bond and right now the prices they're offering 15% and this person trying to liquidate it just because of whatever, you're going to pay more for the actual base amount. It's not going to be $1,000. It's going to be a little bit more. But if the interest rate goes down, then guess what happens? You're going to end up paying more. They're going to end up paying more just to try to even the playing field, because it seems like it's a balance. That's what you do when you're dealing with math and you're dealing with the books. You got to balance it out. So the premium is going to be more. So who's going to actually, it depends if that bond is actually strong and it's it's not a big risk behind it. So you'll be like, hey, Bubba, I'll pay more because I'm going to get 10% off of that. That's cool. You need to liquidate that, and it's only about 5% now, and I got one that say 10. I'm about to go cash in. But if you can't cash in with the entity because there's a reason why the interest rates are going so low, which makes just make a connection. You know, as they say, certain interest rates is really down, and definitely the housing market interest rate is really down right now. So people are like sneaking in, buying things, doing things, and that's what actually the buyback program is about, teaching you another method of obtaining homes in the middle of this transition. We're not talking about that right now, but I wanted to highlight those two things because it's very important. Very important. I had to cut the rap music off real quick because we had to get focused on that. Okay?
The math to figure out the actual price that a rational person would be willing to pay for a bond given what happens to interest rates. And to do this, I'm going to do what's called a zero coupon bond. I'm going to show you a zero coupon bond. And actually the math is much simpler on this because you don't have to do it for all of the different coupons. You just have to look at the final payment. So a zero coupon bond is literally a bond that just agrees to pay the holder of the bond the face value. So let's say the face value, the par value is $1,000 2 years from today. 2 years from today. There's no coupon. So if I were to draw a payout diagram, it would just look like this. This is today, this is 1 year, this is 2 years. You just get $1,000.
Okay. So we're going to stop right there because that was a great amount of information that we can utilize on an everyday basis, as well as a way to look at the market and look at bonds and how they're traded and why they're traded, and they're based on their risk factor as well. So that was very important. The one thing that you want to take, the last thing he said, well, what a rational person will do when it comes to actually investing, and that's how you got to be. You got to be rational. Okay, we got to be rational. So let's play some music. We'll play a little bit of music, and we're gonna go on to our next video as well. Alright, so the next video we're moving on to is why bond yields are likely going to lower. Okay, so let's figure out what bond yields are and why they're likely to lower. Okay, we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give you my commentary. You know I'm always gonna give you my commentary.
UK 10-year yield this morning is just getting smoked. UK 10-year yield down to 1.04%. So when people say, wow, nice call on treasuries, Keith, I missed it. I like you now, though, and I'm going to, but I still don't, I just can't do it, you know, because the 10-year in the U.S. this morning is at what, 2.4%, maybe 2 point, give me a live quote there, Darius. I had 241.
Yep.
241, okay? So that's the USA. That's the USA, the big USA. Now, if you go to the UK, let's go to the UK, which is hardly, you know, as rancid as other places I'm going to show you in a second. 1.04%. Now, if I go to Germany, minus 0.07%. If I go to Switzerland, it's minus 0.41%. How do I know these things? Am I a bloody stable genius?
Stable genius.
Because I write them down every day for now going on many, many, many hugely amounts of years, right? Where do you think this thing is going if all these things are down here and there is no case to be made for a massively huge global economic acceleration? Bond yields are going lower. The Fed's going to cut interest rates, okay? And they're only going to cut interest rates after the market goes down because they need that. That's their qualifier, okay? So when the market goes down, credit spreads widen, the Fed will be there. We think that will either be signaled in September or they'll just outright cut in September. So again, odds are rising, and Mr. Market has figured that out. And as much as that you should be long of bonds, treasury bonds, en masse, okay? That should be your biggest asset allocation in Quad 4.
Just I wanted to summarize one quick thing on the bond yield comment you made on the UK inflation data. So you obviously saw inflation tick up here in the US and here in Europe and also in the UK in April. But when you run the models and the monthly prints, it's likely to trend lower basically from here through August, or here through July to September, pick your country in Europe and UK. So these bond yields that you're talking about today, I can imagine we're coming here 3 months from now, they're all a lot lower.
Yep.
So that's.
And I'm going to be honest, the only reason why I think that it had spiked that time, the bonds, people buying them, because they were pushing money into the United States. And as you say, the interest rates right now, they're saying on a global aspect, we're at 2.41. And everybody else is at negative. But we're all connected. So as he said, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, I'm just keeping it real with that. But that goes to say, next week, on the weeks following, we're going to go a little bit more deeper into treasury bonds and how they're doing on the market again, because we talked about bonds before. Now we're going to go in specific to United States treasury bonds, okay? We need to figure out what's going on, okay? Okay. All right, because I heard y'all. Y'all was like, all right. Next video we're moving on to is going to be low inflation halts the Feds. Here's why. This is what low inflation does and how it affects the Feds. Okay? Let's see if we get this video to play after this commercial.
In 1955, the average price of a movie ticket was 73 cents. Today, it's about $9. This phenomenon is called inflation, the increase in prices of goods and services across an economy over time. It refers to everything you buy, from groceries to doctor's visits to homes. Inflation is among the most powerful forces in the economy and financial markets. Too much or too little can send the economy spiraling. So the inflation rate is a big deal for policymakers, and especially the Fed. This chart shows the inflation rate over the past century. You can see it's become less volatile in recent decades. The Fed's long-stated goal is to keep inflation at about 2%, not too high and not too low. But now, they're worried the rate drifted below 2% too often, and they're rethinking the strategy. We'll explain why, but first, let's look at what causes inflation in the first place. There's a lot of debate and few certainties when it comes to what causes inflation, but here are some of the bigger theories out there. One is increased demand. Inflation can occur when there's an increase in demand in goods and services all over the economy, from households to businesses to the government. Many factors can drive up demand. Higher incomes, more access to credit, greater government spending, and more. What's important to know is that when demand grows faster than supply, businesses can raise their prices. This type of inflation may occur in a growing economy. Supply pressures can also drive inflation. When the cost of doing business goes up, companies need to raise prices to protect their profit margins. Higher wages, higher land costs, and tariffs can all make running a company more expensive and lead to inflation. The economist Milton Friedman once said that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. He was talking about the Fed. The Fed is a major factor in inflation. It dictates the supply of money in the economy and changes interest rates, which are the cost of borrowing money. By changing interest rates, the Fed can influence how many cars, homes, or machines American households and businesses buy, and that affects whether prices go up a lot or a little. When the Fed lowers rates, loans become more attractive to consumers. They borrow more to start businesses, buy cars and homes, and spend more on consumer goods, which can drive up demand and increase inflation. On the flip side, the Fed raises rates to limit demand and keep inflation in check. Usually, if inflation starts to pick up, the Fed considers raising interest rates to limit borrowing. The hope is that this could keep the economy from overheating and keep inflation down. They did this 4 times in 2018. Economists warn that an increase in inflation can lead people to expect even more, leading to a spiral. They worry this could lead to a period in which wages rise sharply, pushing up business costs and forcing further price increases. This is what happened in the 1970s, when inflation rose as high as 12%.
Earlier this week, President Nixon issued an inflation alert.
Inflation is now expected to rise by 7% this year.
The tyranny of double-digit inflation is our common enemy.
People were terrified. It's worth noting that this phenomenon is largely absent today because of global labor markets. When wages at home rise, companies can hire overseas. Also, when things heat up, the Fed is quick to raise rates and limit borrowing. Another reason economists often prefer low inflation is that it makes it easier for people to make accurate long-term financial decisions, like starting a business or buying a home. If you know how much your money will be worth in 1 year, 2 years, and beyond, you can plan with that in mind. But most economists argue that the economy needs some inflation to stay in balance. Moderate inflation gives the economy a cushion in case of a downturn. If inflation is already low, policymakers worry a recession could cause it to dip below zero, a phenomenon known as deflation. When inflation falls and wages follow, people have less money to pay off their debts and start to hoard their money. When people hoard their money, that means less spending and investing, which can make a recession worse or prolonged. So, what's happening right now? Inflation has been below the Fed's target for a long time. Right now, some Fed officials want to let it rise above the 2% target to make up for lost ground. They say it's likely they'll keep interest rates much lower than in the past, a necessary measure to keep the economy growing. The Fed's benchmark short-term rate could peak at or slightly above the current range, between 2.25% and 2.5%. Such low rates leave the Fed less room than in the past to cut rates when the economy hits a rough patch. Remember, the Fed lowers rates to stimulate growth and keep inflation around that 2% mark. In each of the last 3 downturns, the Fed lowered rates roughly 5 percentage points. If rates remain low and inflation remains low, that may not be possible the next time around.
Okay, guys, so this resource is the Wall Street Journal, and as you see, this is an updated video. So as he talked about the low interest rate and what it leads to, as he said, it haunts the Feds because all they're doing is chasing their tail, trying to put it up, put it down, put it up, put it down, put it up, put it down. Supposedly put it up to stop people from borrowing too much and slow down the supposedly spending and make sure that it don't hyperinflate. So it's like a teeter-totter, back and forth type of thing, okay? Which is a little crazy. I'm just saying, it is. One thing to highlight, we talked about the Feds. And the Feds is the Federal Reserve Bank for the United States of America. That's who our Feds are, okay? Because every other country got their own, but they all connected. It's still the Federal Reserve Bank, to my knowledge, but we're going to go a little deeper on that next week. And also just remember what I want to highlight is their regulations. Their regulations, who's regulating them? Who is the entity that controls their board? Like, who sits in on their meeting? And they are the people who control all of it. They just said the Feds. We asked who was the Feds. And the other week we answered the Feds was the Federal Reserve. And then we talked about the fact that our government don't regulate them, and how Trump tried to go after them, and other presidents try to go and say, hey, show me your damn books, what you're doing. And guess what? Nobody can see them. So I just wanted to highlight that. We're going to move on to the next video. But next, we are going to move on and get some more information in regards to the Feds and their how they're regulated, if we can find anything. Okay, how you make your decisions. So what the hell's going on back there? Because you ain't gonna be having meetings behind closed doors controlling what we do. So, alright, this is another little short thing, a short video from Ron Paul. Ron Paul, you know I like him. I like this old guy. He's a sweetheart. I'll take care of him. I like him. I mean, take care of him as a nurse. Y'all know I'm a nurse because they're old people. Anyway, but that goes to say, Ron Paul, global recession is here. This is a new video. Let's watch it.
Another economist considered one of the world's smartest guys is coming out with bad news. This guy's name is Nouriel.
I love both of them. Hold on, wait, I forgot. This was the one. You know I like RT News. So RT and Ron Paul, both of them. Okay, together, one video.
He's a Turkish immigrant who's considered one of America's foremost economic minds, who was the #2 man in the Department of Treasury under President Bill Clinton. He has just announced, a couple of hours ago, by the way, when this crossed, that according to him, the global recession is already underway. That's what he's saying. And he's warning central banks all over the world not to try and get out of it by simply printing more money as they have in the past. This is a sentiment echoed just yesterday by the aforementioned, in my conversation with Dr. Wolf, Ray Dalio. Right? So here you have these two guys, prolific, famous, well-known, saying kind of the same thing. So what gives, right? Why are we suddenly hearing this from so many people? There's one guy, one person who's been making that argument now for years, and he's been called everything from a kook to a rabble-rouser for saying that very thing. Former Congressman Ron Paul has been screaming it from the mountaintop. The Fed and central bankers, he has long said, are the problem. Joining us now, there he is, none other than Dr. Ron Paul. This is interesting, isn't it, to hear a guy like Rubini essentially saying the things that you have been saying. If we keep printing more money, whatever recession comes will be worse. You agree, I imagine, right?
Yeah, certainly, but it seemed like they were still blaming too much capitalism, too much freedom, and it hasn't worked out, and we have to have something else. But I think this is all explainable. It was predictable by Austrian economists over the years that if you destroy the middle class, or if you destroy the currency, you destroy the middle class, and that's what's happened. We've accommodated many people who wanted help, a lot of welfareism, corporate as well as individual welfareism. We've done that at the expense of running up debt. And when you do that, you have to borrow money, and the very people you're trying to help, the poor, they suffer. They end up getting the inflation. So this is a predictable event, and this pretense that debt has been okay because it's been helping people. All you have to look at the world today, $188 trillion of world debt, and that's supposed to help people, but it's not helping people because it's not the market, it's Keynesian economics, it's not sound money, it's not the gold standard, it's zero rate interest rates, negative interest rates, and there's a dependency on government to solve all these problems when government has been at fault and have created these problems.
The Fed aside, let me take issue with you, Dr. Paul. Suppose you're right. Suppose the best thing we can do is allow people to start businesses and let the market rule. But what happens when those people become so big that they're able to essentially manifest the government, control the government, buy the politicians? Isn't that even worse?
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? How he said exactly what I'm saying. The big guy got so big that they can buy the politicians. Okay, I'm not the only one that said it. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, there's a problem with the politician who sells out. You don't have that. But you have to distinguish getting rich and powerful and influential from doing it by earning it and providing a service or a product for the people who voted them this economic authority. But if they if they get their
Okay, so I just want to stop that because I want to talk while they're talking too. So as he say, you can buy them. You can buy the politicians, and it's like, who voted them in? Who voted these type of people in? Are we voting them in? Then you got to think about the election and the rigging of the election, and then how they always got to recount the ballot all of a sudden, and how things are messed up. How some polling stations are not open, or the machines are not working. All right, I'm just saying, this all connects. And we were talking about economy, right? Okay, just it connects.
Power because they're connected to the government, which is essentially all the powerhouses, the banking industry, the military-industrial complex, the social media has had advantages from the government. That's wrong, and you can't allow that to happen. But if you have a company that provides a service or a computer that everybody likes and they vote you rich and you haven't had any benefits from the government, you should applaud them. But nobody does. Anybody who's rich is bad, and that's what's going on right now, because a lot of them got rich because they were in bed with the government. They're partners with the government. All you have to do is go around Washington, D.C. You ought to see where the big houses are. They're with the lobbyists. But if you had a limited government, there'd be no incentive to have lobbyists. When I was in Congress, the lobbyists never came to see me, because my vote wasn't for sale. And it's a system that is very bad. They've been rewarded. Businesses are rewarded, and they figure that's the only way they can go. And what we need is honesty in government. That is honest monies, balanced budget, follow the law, don't get in wars that aren't authorized, and all of a sudden it would be a different world. But just because they're big and it looks like they're influencing the government, which is true, that's secondary. We're looking at the symptom. The real problem is the acceptance of the role of government to manage our lives, manage the economy, policing the world, and telling people what to do. That's where the problem is. You need a lot of bureaucrats to do that.
I need you, before you go, to at least address the central bank issue. Central banks all over the world right now are either printing money or dropping interest rates. It seems to me that that's a foolish errand. You say what?
Well, it's a terrible idea, but it's a logical consequence of steadily lowering interest rates and not to having the courage and wisdom of stopping that and let the market determine interest rates. So no, this is natural, because if you stop, there's a lot of painful suffering from that. There's an addiction out there, but the big problem is that the debt. Nobody pays attention to that. So when people run into trouble, and all the countries are running into trouble, and then we run into spending more money and run up our debt and think we're going to solve the problem, and then print it to solve the problem. Won't work.
Unbelievable. Dr. Ron Paul, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you, sir, for coming on and sharing your perspective with us on this very important story that everybody suddenly seems to be talking about. My thanks.
Yes. Okay. What they about to say on this? All right, I like this guy. So he had a lot of information. Okay, you know Ron Paul, so please subscribe to the Ron Paul. He has his own YouTube page, as well as I tell y'all subscribe to the RT Network. Y'all will get the real. What I got from this video is that they need to stop printing money. They need to stop printing money, as well as you see, as they stated, the low interest rates is connected to something. It was supposed to stimulate the economy, and then now they injected with money, lower interest rates, stimulate the economy. That's not working. We're going to higher the interest rate, because now we got all these people trying to take some loans, this, that, and the third. Yeah, we're going to slow this down a little bit so the money don't hyperinflate. Meaning hyperinflate, we got to punch some more money in there. Hyperinflation means that the prices are going up because the demand is not meeting the actual amount that we have, which relates to agriculture and food farming. It's a bigger picture here, guys. It's a bigger picture, okay? All right, so we're just going to move on. I know I got y'all thinking tonight. We got just a few more videos, and now we're going to go into, let's talk about gold. Now, we had this topic that everybody right now is like in a frenzy for. It was a frenzy before, and it's going to happen again. The Bitcoin, because as you know, they mentioned people are trying to find that new, settle into some type of new currency. Okay, it's easier said than done, and it really like slides off my tongue, but it don't even feel right to my soul. But with that goes to say, gold standard versus fiat versus Bitcoin. So it's just a little review. I like to have different people commentary, and what we're going to do in the next coming week is that I'm going to have a guest. And he's going to give us a little bit more information into the big currency that's connected to gold. All right. So as you know, I deal with K-bars, and with the K-bars, they don't only have gold for you to actually exchange the fiat money for right now while it's worth something. You can still trade it for something that's going to be worth something just in case this hyperinflation go. But that goes to say they also have Bitcoin. But this Bitcoin is not just connected to air. It's connected to gold. So next week we're going to bring that guest on. I'll let y'all know what date is that. But let's watch this video together, because we're going to go down and learn a little bit more about BIC. And then I'm going to give y'all the foundational information. I hope y'all researched.
The gold standard is a monetary system where a country's currency, for example the US dollar, has a value directly linked to gold. Between 1871 and 1914, the gold standard was the dominant money system in the world, and governments worked pretty well together to keep it ticking along. Under this system, countries agreed to exchange their currencies for a fixed amount of gold, and then set a fixed price at which their gold could be bought and sold. So, for example, if the United States fixed the price of its gold at $20 an ounce, then the US dollar would be worth 1/20th of an ounce of gold, and could therefore be exchanged for 1/20th of an ounce of gold. This meant that a country couldn't have more currency in circulation than it's held in gold supplies, because otherwise that currency couldn't be exchanged for the agreed fixed amount of gold. The US, for example, couldn't just print more dollar bills to pay for things, because there wouldn't be the gold supplies to back it up, and those bills would effectively have no value. And because gold is a natural resource, there's only a limited supply of it to go around. Governments can't just create more of it. Of course, some countries strike lucky from time to time and find a large supply of it in their grounds. For example, the California gold discovery of 1848. But such finds are uncommon and can also cause a shock to money systems by instantly increasing a country's money supply, which in turn raises price levels and causes instability. But going back to the idea that most countries couldn't just instantly and drastically increase their gold supplies, because countries often get into debt and have lots of spending commitments, this restriction didn't suit many of them. And when faced with the costly wars of the 20th century, developed nations did away with the gold standard and opted for a money system known as fiat instead. This is a system where currencies have a value given to them by governments rather than linked to gold. Governments give these currencies value by making it law that they must be accepted as forms of payment, and by making it a requirement that taxes must be paid with these currencies. Today, national currencies like the US dollar, euro and British pounds are all fiat currencies. And because the value of a fiat currency isn't linked to gold, governments have the power to issue more of it where they see fit, while banks are able to create more of a fiat currency through lending. Under the fiat system, there's no limit to how much money can be created, and this has led to the global money supply increasing dramatically. The problem is, the more of a currency that's in a system, the more the prices rise, and this, in turn, leads to inflation and the value of that currency going down. Over the past 100 years, the purchasing power of the US dollar, for example, has fallen by 98%. That means that what $1 US can buy you today is a lot less than what it could buy you in 1914. But the wages and incomes of most ordinary people don't increase at the same rate as rising prices. And so many people are forced to take out debt just to pay for basic items that they were previously able to afford. Governments are facing a similar problem, except that their debt is on a whole other level. US national debt currently stands at more than $17.5 trillion and is going up literally by the second. Don't believe us? Try taking a look at this.
I'm going to share that website for you. It is right there for you. You can Google United States debt, and this will pop up for you, and you can watch it by the minute, by the second, how it changed. And it's probably not 17. It's not this number right now, okay? It's changing by the second. It's not a joke.
You can even watch how much money is being created live. So, to sum up, as more money enters the system, the more the prices rise, and the more debt that people and governments are forced to take on. In recent years, the idea of a return to the gold standard has been gaining popularity in Western countries. Advocates of this idea, including three-time US presidential candidate Ron Paul, believe it could help to stabilize the world's monetary systems and contain rampant inflation and debt. There would be several problems with the return to the gold standard, however, including short-term price shocks caused by gold rushes or gold being lost, the risk of governments and central banks, who would be the ones responsible for regulating a gold standard system, not playing by the rules, and on a more practical level, there simply isn't enough gold in the world.
Also, what she's saying is the only thing that I will find that will be an issue is that if we continue to inflate prices to make this non-tangible gold needed, like you need more to buy. It's us as human beings that does this. You know, I just wanted to share with you one thing. You know, y'all know I homeschool. So my daughter, we were talking about the market. They're taking business classes. When they get in 9th grade, they got to take it. And one of the things they asked about supply and demand. Why, when they need more of the product is in demand, why does the prices go up? And I explained it to her, and she was like, that's evil. She was like, that's just sinister. So people need it or they want it, so you make the price go up. Like, and I had to teach her about a capitalistic tone of our economy, and this is why. And she's like, who the heck made this type of thing? Where did it come from? And with that goes to say, who sponsors it? It's our government. So, and it's us as people who supposedly put these people in position by way of our votes, which don't count half the time, or they're removed, or the ballot or the booth don't work, or it ain't one, or they take it away because you got to charge. All types of things. I need y'all to pay attention to that, because so, you know, we all have to have our own discernment and decide how we're going to practice business, what we're going to use for exchange, as well as what we're going to price it as. Like people are not human no more. They capitalistic. It's this is a capitalistic world. No, we're making it like that. I just want to share that. We are doing this. We're allowing them to do it. They don't create itself. It's not just like that.
World to match the current money supply. In 2012, the world's total gold supplies equaled 170,000 metric tons, which in total equated to roughly $9 trillion US. But as we've already seen, the US national debt alone is nearly double that. So if we wanted to return to the gold standard, then the price of gold would have to soar by an incredible amount, which could have serious repercussions for the global money system. Others, however, are suggesting that the cryptocurrency...
So I just want you to highlight, if we were ever to go back to the gold standard, just the holders of gold that have gold, the prices will soar. FY.
Bitcoin could be the answer, with many asking if it's the new gold standard. And it's true that Bitcoin and gold share similar features.
Bitcoin is essentially digital gold. There is a finite supply, just like there is a finite supply of gold. There is a certain predictable rate at which Bitcoin are being mined, similar to somewhat predictable rate at which gold is being mined.
In fact, some of the principles behind Bitcoin are apparently deliberately designed after gold's. And while some point out that Bitcoin isn't a hard commodity like gold, something that can be physically touched, the value of both is determined in a similar way. For while gold can be turned into jewelry, etc., it can't be eaten, burnt for energy, or used to build a house. Essentially anything that humans really need. Which means its value only really comes from the belief by people that it is worth something. And the same is true for Bitcoin.
I'm glad she was honest.
It's hard to imagine a national money system entirely based on Bitcoin, let alone an international one. Not least because the currency is currently so prone to volatility and instability. So there you have it, the gold standard versus fiat money system debate explained.
All right, she did an excellent job. I loved it. It was non-biased. She showed all three perspectives. If you like money, if you like gold, if you like Bit, you need to pay attention. And at the end of the day, she said it's all in the perspective of the people anyway, what they find value in. One thing that I have to share with y'all, and I just want to share this with y'all because God said you can't hide anything. One thing that I think the gold rush will cause is increased slavery. Slavery, because at the end of the day, where the gold is located at, or majority, or land seizures. So I need us to be aware. I need people to be aware of their actual status and their actual ties to the land. And with that goes to say, I'm not going to go deeper into that right now because I don't want to go too deep. I'll say that for the Black Discovery Channel. We're going to have a special on the black gold. Black gold, just like black diamonds. I have to share the truth with you guys. And it's all in perspective. It's all in perspective. It's the greedy. It's the rich. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. It's the greedy ones that are rich at the same time. Okay? It's not the rich. It's the ones that had those two qualities together. Alright, so the next video we're going to watch is David Stockman, True U.S. Economy is about to be revealed. This is November 12th. It's a little short commentary from him. He does a lot of research in regards to the economy, so please watch RT. Please watch this segment. He talks about a whole bunch of other stuff, but we talk about economy here, so that's the videos that you see with me. But they talk about a whole bunch of stuff. And Ron Paul, they talk about politics and stuff like that.
The Fed has given another $112 billion to essentially Wall Street. Now, let me take you through this because this is a story that we have been reporting and trying to raise questions as to why this is happening, right? The genesis of all of this, or how this was originally sold to us, was it's a one-time thing. Remember, the Fed essentially said it was simply a short-term liquidity issue, that it had to pump money into some banks and the repo market for maybe a day or two or maybe a week. Then we learned that they were doing it daily and continuing it to the tune of like $60 billion a day. And now we're learning it's $112 billion.
Okay, so I want y'all to understand this. Let's talk about this, because the other video we talked about banking practices. We talked about a few weeks ago, we talked about banking practices and also how they have to clear their books at night and to make sure that it's balanced. And if they're not balanced and they need to borrow money, they borrow money from each other. Okay, and how the rates were going up amongst each other, it was causing the issue, which called them having a surplus of debt. That's one of the issues that's spewing and bubbling up. So now, as he said, they went to the Fed, and that was one of the things that they was like, it's a problem, or the banks in themselves who works together to try to even out things. Once you go out of that circle, then you are looking at some global issues.
In both overnight and 14-day repos injected into the market. Joining us now, the author of Peak Trump, who was President Ronald Reagan's budget director, none other than David Stockman. David, thanks for being with us as usual. Is this what you do when you're in charge of the greatest economy in the history of the world? Did you hear me, David? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, I lost your. Yeah. No, I lost your last part, but I think
you know where I'm going.
Question.
Tongue in cheek,
yes.
Right? I mean, we have the greatest economy in the history of the world. What the hell are we doing this for, right?
Well, the answer is, we've got the greatest deficit in the history of the United States. There's money flooding into Wall Street. In other words, demand from the Treasury flooding into Wall Street. The market can't digest it all. The law of supply and demand hasn't been repealed. And so interest rates were pushing up and the Fed panicked. Now, we need to understand just how serious this is, because we're at the tippy top of the longest business cycle in history, month 130 at 125. And in the last 4 months, if you could believe this, the Treasury has borrowed $800 billion.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say something. This is an ad lib. Y'all remember when Alex Jones went to Wall Street? You saw that cop sitting out there, and they was like, that one was like a private cop. It wasn't even the city cop. This is how private that institution is. I just wanted to share that. I'm sorry. I had to stop it.
$1 billion, not in a year, in 4 months. And when all of that demand came into the bond pits, there wasn't enough supply available to finance it. Repo rates started to go up, because remember, that's where the paper held by the dealers is financed, in the so-called repo, overnight or short-term market. And as the dealers balance sheets became saturated with all this new Treasury issue, which they're required to borrow, they went to the repo market, tried to fund it. They fund 95% of what they buy, and this drove the whole thing up. So the Fed wanted you to believe that everything was under control. This was short-term, some plumbing issues down in some mysterious part of the bond market. None of this is true. What we have is the collision that I have been talking about for a long time, and that is our fiscal situation is out of control, and the Fed can't keep the interest rate pinned down to 1.55%, where it is today, below inflation, and still see all of this massive amount of Treasury debt financed. So that's the problem. Supply and demand, a collision. The day of reckoning is arriving. That's what's going on.
Wait, you see the headline behind it? Just look at that headline. Y'all better just pay attention. The Feds inject $112 billion overnight. That's not right. That just can't be right. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
And the day of reckoning, David, we're down to about 45 seconds, but can you explain what that day of reckoning might be and when we might experience it?
Well, I think, yes, I think the day of reckoning is that we have so much debt to finance. Trump has made it far worse. He's been adding annually far more debt, $185 billion a year, than any other president. And as a result of that, interest rates are going to rise, and that's going to spook the stock market, and we're going to have a big correction, and this greatest ever economy is going to be shown for what it really is, and that is a house of cards based on unsustainable debt and money printing that we can't continue.
David Stockman. Very few people like him in terms of both knowledge, candor, and man, you're a truth teller. We appreciate you coming on. David Stockman, thanks again. All right.
Thank you.
So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan. Let's go to Hong Kong.
Okay, so y'all hear this, and this is still going on. I'm gonna keep on banging this into your forehead. It ain't right. It's not right what's going on. Printing out money ain't copacetic. We're making the connections. We're building. We're putting this information together. You're seeing a clearer picture. Okay, so that was Ronald Reagan's budget director. Okay, and he said that the demands. This is going on because the demands of the bonds is in the pits. So they had to put money into it to inject because the bonds are being dumped. Okay, so I just had to just sit back like, okay, this is getting real, but you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention and have a plan. Start planning, okay? It's not going to be just gold. I'm going to give y'all a few helpful hints as well before we leave tonight's broadcast. And let's see. The Feds are on their last leg. I want you to go to the Ron Paul page. I just wanted to show y'all his page, the Ron Paul. Sorry, my ear started itching. The Ron Paul page on YouTube. Go there, check out his commentary as well. I know we've been riding for a little while, so I'm going to end tonight by going over some of the concepts that we actually are going to be highlighting on the next coming weeks, because we're going to keep on learning. So we talked about Zimbabwe today. We continue to talk about the rigged stock market, because you know it's rigged. I don't care if people don't like it. You're going to hear the daggone truth. We also went into gold versus Bitcoin versus fed money. This money that we playing with. You saw how the money looked on that printing press? It made me mad. It didn't even make me happy. Like, you get excited like, ooh, money. It made me mad. Okay. We also going to talk about the GDP. These are terms that we're going to talk about, so y'all need to get ready. We're going to go into the ETFs. What is ETF? Electronic trading. GLD, gold fund, paper gold. Also, day trader. We're going to talk about them a little bit more on the rig market. Okay, so you could be aware. We're going to talk about the GDP, JP Morgan as well. I didn't get to go into that, but the JP Morgan has been hacked supposedly. I bet you they got some money. I bet you they got some money too. We ain't gonna talk about that. We also gonna go more into find out what's going on with Wall Street right now. Also the foundations of Wall Street. You need to know the foundations of Wall Street. And it has been built on the back of the slaves. I just wanted to share that with y'all. But we're going to really get the facts behind it. But y'all need to understand it's built on the back of the slaves. Okay? For real. Alright, so we're also going to go into devaluation of products. And we already talked about that through our broadcasts, how this thing happened, how it happened through inflation, one of them. Another topic we're going to go down the yellow brick road is, it's not a recession. She said it's not a recession, it's going to be a currency exchange, a currency change. So if we turn into a digital currency, as most people believe, this will say, hold on, let me make sure that my stuff good. This will say, because I got pink on, so I've been talking for a while. I don't want pink to be caking up on my lips. So what this will go to say is that quantitative easing can be an issue. Okay? Alright, so the print of money turned me off. I'm sorry. I want to thank y'all for being with me tonight. If y'all want to look at more videos, get part of the group, I share every video that I actually make right into this group. Secure your team, the Gold Innovators. there you will find the video. It should be going live right now, but it's not because Facebook sucks. But because I shared it in the group. But there you will also be able to connect to right here. You don't even have to go to my www.secureyourenergy.org. You'll be able to go to the landing page right here. I also have another website set up where you can sign up to get gold, to exchange the Fed money for gold, to hold off, just to have something in the background to hold off. I'm not saying be a gluttony. Don't go crazy. I ain't saying do what you need to do. But what this goes to say, you'll go to this page, give it a second to load, because I had to look at this. I was like, what is this? This is so secure that they're not going to just let anybody. I mean, like, you really have to really secure who you are. They'll let anybody do it, but you have to secure who you are. Why every time I'm live, it don't show the picture? Maybe too many things are going up at the same time. So here, it would be a little box here, and you'll just, there we go, because I'm talking about it. And you'll submit, if it let me submit. It's running a little bit slow, and then you'll go on to the page. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. And this Lizzo, I don't own the right to this. Look, it's giving me a hard time. Y'all won't have a hard time because it's moving slow. Oh, here we go. So this is another landing page that y'all can go to, and this here is to sign up. Okay, and this is not my learning module. This is not where you'll find learning videos. But if you want to have some more learning videos, and you have somebody who's interested that don't want to just sign right up, we can actually go here. Let's see if I got it up here. You know, I'd be misbehaving. Why do that when I could just type it in? Yep. You say, why go look for it when I could just type it in? All right, we always going down the hard route. We need to go down the easy route. This is Secure Your Energy right here. This is where you can understand the money system, get some understanding before you even go do anything, or go into my Secure Your Energy group as I showed you to watch these videos, or you can actually go to YouTube. We got YouTube as well, and I'm going to show y'all the YouTube page, Secure Your Energy. Let's switch to the channel. Why everything gotta be great till it gotta be great? Why everything gotta look great till it gotta be great? And then all of a sudden you be like, oh shit, oh, let me get this out of my face. Hold on. Alright, so this is Secure Your Energy. Please like and subscribe. Share. Learning is caring, and sharing, I'm supposed to say sharing is caring, and learning is growth. How about that? I like that one. Anyway, I want to say many blessings. Thank you so much for being with me. I know I've been here for a while. We've been here for a while. But we will be coming back tomorrow as well. I'll be coming back the next day because I want to share something with y'all. I don't really want y'all to have gold. I need y'all to get some property too. We need to get some land and have some gold. We're going old school, okay? Primetime home buyers, Secure Your Energy in conjunction. We work together to make sure that we secure the economy ourselves, okay? So we can buy back the lobbyists. We go